Hi everybody. This video is called What Exists? And you may think that that's obvious. That, well, what exists, it's everything around us. I can kick this stone, I can drive this car, I can do all of these things. But for philosophers, the question of what exists does not have an obvious answer because we think a little bit more deeply about it. For example, let's say I have a pen, all right? And we think normally, this pen just exists. But one of the questions philosophers have is, exactly how is it that we differentiate this pen from, say, my hands, which are touching it right now? And also from this atmosphere, which is also full of matter and atoms of gases. How do we make this kind of a differentiation? For example, if I took one atom away from this pen, you'd probably say it was still this pen. If I took two, if I took three, where's the point where I stop saying it's this pen? We don't have a really clear point. The other thing that is unusual, we know from science, for example, that the atoms of my fingers are kind of more like a moving cloud of electrons than they are something static. And it's the same with the atoms of this pen. So obviously the atoms of the pen and the atoms of my fingers are kind of mushing together in real life. But why is it then that we can make such a hard break between the pen and my hands? It's not at all clear. Another question that comes up about what exists has to do with categories of things that exist. For example, I call this a pen, and I also call this purple thing a pen. Two pens, right? But if you look at them, they're really, really different. What enables me to call this a pen and this a pen? How is it that I feel like they're sort of the same thing or in the sort of same class? I can do the same thing with a lot of stuff. This is a book, The Littlest Pumpkin, one of my favorites. And this thing is a book, The Collected Dialogues of Plato, giant book, right? They look pretty different. The contents are really different. Why? What enables us to call both of these things a book? Well, one philosopher who tried to come up with an answer for this was the philosopher Plato, who wrote in ancient Greece. We read his dialogue, The Apology, recently, and now we're looking at sections of his dialogue, The Republic. And in The Republic, Plato does sort of hazard an idea, which is that these two things, these two pens, we're able to call both of them pens because while they are real, they're not as real as the really real things, which are the abstract ideas in which these things partake. Now, when I say abstract idea, I mean eternal, non-material, unchangeable concepts. Plato called them the forms. We can call them ideas. They are, for example, the idea of long and skinny, the idea of writing implement, right? That's a functional idea. The idea of hard or solid, right? These ideas never change, and Plato believed that they are the true reality and that everything partakes of them. So these things aren't quite as real as the ideas in Plato's view. And there's some really cool ideas out there, like the idea of justice, the idea of beauty that enables us to call two things we think are beautiful, they're both beautiful. And finally, Plato's sort of top idea, the boss of all the other truly real ideas, is the form or idea of good, which he believes is a creative force that illuminates and creates all things. Form of good? Kind of sounds like God, doesn't it? It sort of does. Some people think that's Plato's idea of God. So anyway, not everybody agrees with Plato. I'm going to tell you right now. Somebody like Willard Van Orman Quine, who is in our extra material this week to read, thought that Plato's ideas were just plain wrong, and that we could have concepts of individual objects just fine by observing the world and through our language and our social associations just coming up with, a nice framework that we have for saying that this is a pen and this is a pen and this is a pen and this is a pen. Or this white dog is a dog and this black dog is a dog and this brown dog is a dog, and they're all dogs. So that's what philosophers get into sometimes. I happen to love it. And I hope you enjoy it too. And, have some fun with it. If you have any questions, please don't forget to get in touch with me. Thanks.